Hey, what's going on everyone? So tonight I am going to be enjoying Baltika Brew's Russian Imperial Stout. Now this is a brewery from St. Petersburg, Russia, so why not drink their Russian Imperial Stout? I've actually never had any beers that were brewed from Russia, so I'm kind of curious on seeing what their beer game is like. A lot of Russian Imperial Stouts nowadays are actually brewed in the United States. A little bit of history that I was kind of looking up Russian Imperial Stouts. There's a lot of different theories on exactly when the stout originated. Peter the Great in the 1690s when he visited London, that style of beer really wasn't around. There were stouts, but it actually detailed the strength of the beer, not necessarily the color. So a stout back in the 17th century is much different from what you think a stout nowadays is. And it wasn't until about like the 1720s of when you would start to see the porter style, and from there the stout porter shortly after come into play. And that was well over the time that Peter the Great was visiting London in England at the time. So that theory kind of gets washed out. One of the ones that I personally believe a little bit more was actually Catherine the Great. I think she was like 16 or 18 when she kind of came into power and found out about the beer and had it like actually shipped over to Russia. So she's kind of the one that is, in my opinion, deserves this style as opposed to Peter the Great. A little bit of backstory behind that. So I have this warmed up for about 25 minutes now. Since it is kind of a darker beer, I like to kind of leave them out. Just it brings out a little bit more characteristic of the beer. So I mean, something that I kind of noticed, I'm a little bit surprised, but honestly, a little bit more curious than anything, is actually a little bit lighter than I thought. I'm more used to kind of like the old Rasputin, darkness from Surly, a lot of like their big imperial stouts and those Russian imperial stouts that you typically hear about that are just thick, dark, black beers. This one actually has a little bit lighter hue to it, but it smells fantastic. Really malty, a lot of chocolate that's in there. So yeah, let's just see how this one is. Oh wow. This one's pretty complex. I mean, the bitterness is definitely there. It's not like hard hitting with like those big chocolate malty notes that like old Rasputin would have, but this one is much more bitter, and definitely the booziness is there. I'm getting like little like subtle hints of kind of like toasted caramel almost, with some like plum raisin, like fruity undertones to it, which is really nice. Kind of gives it a little bit more depth to this, but this one is definitely on the higher end of bitterness, which makes kind of sense because like I was bringing back like the history aspect. To make the journey from England to Russia, it's about 1,500 miles, so they had to really increase the bitterness and the hops that were in there so the beer will survive that long journey. So I could see this being more along the lines of a traditional Russian Imperial Stout as opposed to ones that you kind of see nowadays. So I mean, this one's really good. If you're able to find really any type of Russian beer, try it out, definitely. I'm impressed so far with this guy. So I'm probably gonna look into a little bit more from this brewery. This is my first beer from these guys. So yeah, if you can find it, try it out. Again, this is Baltika Brew Collection, the Russian Imperial Stout from St. Petersburg, Russia. Cheers.